The whole MENACE project started as a 2-week previous class, but yeah, I got a little carried away and When I looked at 3D and Unreal, to me it seemed so out of reach. I don't even know where to begin to think how they did that. The more I kind of started scratching the surface, the more excited I got.
You're digging a hole.
Exactly, yeah.
I guess you really do feel like super powerful thinking, I'm not on set, I can just go back in.
I can have a coffee and I can sit in front of my computer. I don't have to talk to the city council to get permits.
You've damaged our street.
Yeah, exactly. And I enrolled into CG Spectrum. I was lucky enough also to have William Faucher.
Oh, what a legend.
He was my world building mentor. And I thought if I'm going to take this seriously, I need to take that class and actually try and make something and do something with it. This project really made that clear to me that this is what you should be doing. Hi, how you doing, Jamie?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good.
How's your day going? What are you up to? What's going on?
It's 10 to 7 a.m. here, so I haven't gone up to too much. Got a little coffee this morning and just taking it easy.
If it's that early in the morning, I'm presuming that you've either got blackout blinds or you're in like the basement.
I think it's just Portland. It's
just a dark, gloomy place.
My name is Ewald Vorster, and I grew up in Johannesburg, South Africa. I was born there, and I've always kind of had a knack for the alternative lifestyle and a bit of skateboarding, played in some punk rock bands, and I started off as a video editor on a local TV show called Supersport. After that, I kind of worked with MTV Base for a bit, which is MTV Africa, basically. And then I got, I think, my first big kind of entry into real professional editing, which was with Red Bull Media House, covering races all over Europe and the world with the best hard and extreme enduro motorcycle races. The producer was from Los Angeles, and he booked me on a job, booked me on the shoot, and I got the visa, and then he had to cancel because of budget issues and everything. And I was like really bummed about it. And I was like, I told him, listen, I'm coming anyway. So use me or not use me, but I'll be there. From then on, I was the new editor.
Amazing. So you went in there when it was sort of cancelled, and then you just like, I'll show you what I can do.
I was like, I'm doing it anyway, because I mean, I've had my whole heart, everything was set on this. I'm not going to just, turn around and walk back type thing, Then COVID happened. Everybody that wasn't based in Europe, they kind of like had to cut off a little bit, and it was going to be temporary. But at that exact same time, I got a job opportunity at Icon Motorsports here in the US. About a year and a half ago, I don't know, I just felt like my career has kind of got a bit stale. I don't feel like there's something else I can do. And I think I saw that Rebirth video from Quixel Megascans in Unreal Engine, and I was just like, wow, this is unbelievable. And I was like, how hard can it be? Like, I mean, I guess if I know the software, I can edit, so I can, hopefully do something cool with that. So
this is the transition now, isn't it, from your background into the world of Unreal Engine?
As a director, we had a few animation jobs with that company, and I'm like, I don't know the process. Like, I can't have an informed conversation about what is the goal and the purpose because I don't have the knowledge. So I started like doing a bunch of YouTube videos on Unreal, and the more I kind of started scratching the surface, the more excited I got.
You're digging a hole.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And I created it's called Red MENACE, and it's my very first video ever, and it's just a Mixamo character walking towards a bike in the sunset. And I got to that point, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I knew then that I need to take this more seriously, because I kind of got that excitement that I got when you start working as an editor, maybe for a bigger company, and you finally, you really love the work that you do, and that kind of inspires you to do more and learn more. So
yeah.
totally got just enthralled in all of the Unreal stuff, and then I enrolled into CG Spectrum. I first did the 3-month introduction course where they basically take you over everything, all the features in Unreal, including Maya and a few rigging things. And it's basically touching on a lot of different things. And then after that, I enrolled in the full course that was the 9 months with a few great mentors, and the community has absolutely been amazing. But yeah, I was lucky enough also to have William Faucher as my...
Oh, what a legend.
Yeah, he was my world building mentor.
Whoa.
When I created Haven, he was like kind of guiding me through that process. So I really enjoyed it. And then the last 3 months, well, actually the middle part of that course was cinematics. And I was very excited for that. The whole MENACE project actually started as a 2-week previous class. And we were supposed to kind of make a vehicle with a meta-human inside and just kind of doing a turn and stopping, coming out of a bridge. And I was like, this is very cool. And the second I figured that out and how that works with the car, I was like, let me try and make something with the motorcycle, because, you know, that's kind of where my field is in anyway. And I found on the Epic Marketplace from the Fly Dev team, they got that rigged motorcycle, which I've actually been looking for a motorcycle for a while, and that one just dropped, and I think it was still like over $200 or something. I bought it, and I was like,
just like this, let's go.
Exactly. So since it was starting off as a previs, I didn't want to spend time creating the world. So that's why I chose to use the city sample demo, because it already looked good. And my main focus was just on creating a kind of 3-shot sequence, maybe a straight and a turn, and then something else with the bike. I didn't even know I'm going to have cop cars in there and all that stuff. But
it just starts to spiral and grow, and especially with your background, which is perfect. You know, the directing, the action sports, the motorbikes. I guess you couldn't help, but I need to do more than this, because it's so exciting, isn't it, when you discover things, or like, look at that cool shot.
Yeah, definitely, exactly. And that whole process, when I figured out this and I knew this is the direction I want to go into, and use the city sample demo and the bike, I actually did like a full-on location scout through the city sample demo, like I usually would, because to be honest, with Icon Motorsports, some of the productions we've done, professional stunt riders, and to promote their gear, we would like fly to Chicago, or they'll go somewhere around the US and block off the streets, get rolling grid, get police escorts, and shoot these high energy stunt videos through the city. And it also requires location scouting and all that stuff. And I was like, well, let me kind of treat this as one of those kind of projects and see if I can create that same energy. The actual cinematic part of it was so seamless, so fast, and so fun on that project. But since I've been using the city sample demo, there's a lot of back-end blueprint things that shouldn't be touched, or you just don't want to mess with it too much. I had weird crashes, random issues, and in hindsight, I will never use this pre-built city like that was meant for a game demo.
That's it, isn't it? As soon as you start like playing around and like unpicking blueprints, it can have a bigger effect.
Exactly. I used a take recorder, so I recorded the bike first of all, and I was blown away when I got it to work and I got it to record. It also required a bit of back end playing around with the blueprint of that motorcycle, because it was also made for a game.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, well, let me see if I can add a police car or something. And I did a few takes of the police cars riding. I did some straights and I did some swerving. And I had the straight cars in at first, and it just felt a little stale. And I thought to myself, like, this is Unreal. Let me get a little bit crazy with like dynamic stuff that you could probably usually not ask a stunt rider or driver to do that, because it's maybe a bit crazy or something. So
are we talking about that huge jump?
Exactly. Yeah. Some of our stunt riders have done smaller jumps, and that actually I used one of the still frames of that for reference for posing the body and everything like that. The take recorder was great because, especially with the vehicles, with the jump and stuff like that, it's very natural how the physics turn the car and things like that. I know there's rigs and stuff you can build, and I've seen a lot of those videos where people build car rigs, and it looks great. I feel like if you can combine both, it would be amazing, but they feel a little tight and stale sometimes, and it feels like it's a rig. It's too perfect, the car's moving too perfect, and I feel like mine is maybe a bit too loose. I kind of like didn't use a rig at all. I just used tape recorder, but I feel like there's possibly a happy medium in between both where you can combine them and really get a good result.
Yeah, man. It's funny you say that. Doing a big jump, because we were doing a project recently which involved cars and car chases, and we purchased a bunch of Unreal Engine assets with trucks, and there was a motorbike in it as well. The first thing we did was just build a giant ramp and just typed in 200 mile an hour, you could input kind of speeds and physics, and the first thing we did was just sent it straight off a giant ramp, just because it's so fun to play with once you're in there.
I created a basic road outline, and for the jump, just quickly grabbed a cone or something, and I stretched it, and I just had the bike hit the jump a few times, and then had the car jump a few times. There's actually the guy's name is Loic Scalbert. He's on YouTube, and I thank him as well, because he made a city sample chase scene with a vehicle and 2 police cars, but it was really short, I think 10 seconds or something. But it was so cool that I was like, this is kind of the thing that I want to do. That was one of my main inspirations. So, but yeah, I got a little carried away, and
it's so easy and fun to kind of fill the space and build it in Unreal Engine. How does it compare to being in a location and thinking, I can't just spray that wall? Or
definitely not. Yeah,
I guess the pros and cons of Unreal Engine to live on set.
There's no comparison really, because when we do it in the real world, we only have a certain amount of time at a certain location. You just gotta hope you got it in the bag, and sometimes you got the perfect shot. This is the best one, but there's a weird person walking in the back or looking at the camera, and then you probably have to cut him out in post, or it's just a lot of things you can't control like that. You basically got what you got. But with Unreal, it's oh, that's a great shot, that's perfect, I love it, but it does feel empty. We can add that or do this, and although I don't like doing it so much, but I really think it's great that when I'm finished and I've got a bunch of shots and I've rendered them out, and I start with the edit, and I'm these shots all flow great, but there's a one weird kind of moment where these 2 shots just doesn't work together well, and then I can go back in.
Sure.
And I can literally take the motion from left to right where that shot ends and add another left to right B-roll or quick tire shot, and then back into the action. So it seamlessly takes you into the next shot without the momentum stopping.
I guess you really do feel super powerful, thinking, I'm not on set, I can just go back in, re-render something, tweak things. I guess that's the fun and the power of doing these sort of things in Unreal Engine.
I can have a coffee and I can sit in front of my computer. I don't have to talk to the city council to get permits. I don't need police escorts.
You've damaged our street.
Yeah, exactly. And the bikes on set, sometimes, there's always something that goes wrong with the motorcycles, and then it's an hour and a half or 30 minutes out of the day of shooting to try and fix some of the issues. And yeah, so it's actually such a blessing. Unreal is amazing for that.
If you're already a part of our incredible community, thank you so much, and it really means the world to us. But if you're new here and you've been watching the content for a while and you haven't hit that subscribe button, we would really appreciate it if you could just take a second to do so. In return, we promise to keep creating, improving, and bringing you bigger and better content. Now back to the episode. How did MENACE help you find a new career direction in Unreal Engine?
Because I've been editing for a very long time, and I've been doing directing stuff. My work has never kind of been recognized. A lot of the work I did with Red Bull gets millions of views, but it's the brand, and this is the first time where I'm kind of doing something for myself. The success that it had on YouTube and the comments, I feel like I finally put my ladder up on the right mountain type thing. I don't have to figure out my niche a little bit. I feel like I've got it now, and now I just need to keep climbing, because there's many avenues you can go to in 3D and VFX. Do I want to be an animator? No. do I still want to be a director? Yes. Like in my mind, yeah, I want to be a cinematics director, but what does that really mean and what does that take? And I feel like this project really made that clear to me, that this is what you should be doing.
Hell yeah. That's it. You got no excuse now. You've got the tools, you've got the power, you've got the knowledge. You just get stuck in, learn it and create. What's it like teaching industry professionals who want to learn Unreal Engine now?
When I just finished the MENACE project, and I've got 1 week left of studying at CG Spectrum, but in May of 2023 now this year, they asked me if I wanted to participate in being a TA, a technical assistant at the college. Immediately said yes, because for me this is more about still being able to learn, and the technology is evolving so much, so they updating the work material often, so I constantly get new information. And I'm teaching currently 2 classes of 3 people per class, and it's industry professionals. Yeah, it's been really good, and it's teaching me a lot about myself and just the way that I learn and things like that, because I always thought that I might make a good teacher, because I wish people would explain to me the way that I explain to someone, because I'm very step by step and kind of trying to help the person really. And I felt like a lot of times people don't really want to give you, besides in CG Spectrum when you're studying, but in general in life, it's hard to find someone who's really taking the time to make sure you understand something.
And that's what's great about those mentors, I guess, like learning from those as well, like how they really sort of help push that individual's project, take a bit of information from the way they do it and then passing it on to other people.
Exactly. And it's also teaching me that everybody learns differently as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's like different approaches you have to have with everybody, and it's really it's an amazing experience, and I'm enjoying it very much. I actually got a class straight after this podcast.
I've got here that you incorporate AI. Can you talk about how you use AI in your workflow?
Some of the motorcycle helmet ads that I do for this company, one of them it's the Japanese Edo style helmet. So it's the old school Japanese art on the helmet and stuff. So the concept was like to create like a kind of a 2D image that moves in the background of the helmet that is actually art from that era. I did a bunch of research and I couldn't find I found a lot of good stuff, but I can't just use it. So I started working in Midjourney and getting a whole bunch of references together, and started building a 2D scene and getting like cherry blossom, the branches only, and then getting the background only, and then getting foreground, and then in After Effects I kind of like had it look kind of like alive, like a photo, and the helmet's kind of rotating. So that was one of the ways, and I'm actually working on a project right now as well where I watched a video on YouTube where someone takes a Midjourney kind of alley file and put it into Blender, and they can kind of
projection.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, man, I saw that. That's really cool.
Some of them I feel like I could do with that, you know, and just plant a few extra 3D elements in the scene, but use that projection.
You really are lapping up all the tools. Like it seems to be when you see new stuff, you're constantly thinking, how can I incorporate this and improve and learn? And you're clearly someone who wants to kind of absorb a lot of stuff and stay present.
And streamline.
Streamline, yeah. How can I improve the next project from all the stuff that was painful in the last?
I figured out that if you also type in 360 or GoPro view angle, then it makes it super wide. So then when you do the projection, you can literally kind of map it in, and it kind of wraps it nicely around, and it actually it does it a bit more smoother. So I'm still just touching the surface on all of that. So hopefully get to use that more.
Yeah, that's great. It's crazy. It's very interesting to hear how people are using AI in their workflows and stuff. How did you find the time, or how do you ever find the time to constantly learn new softwares? Is it an evening thing? You know,
I was still permanent employee at the company that I was working with, and I just spend a lot of time weekends and evenings, working till late at night. I just made time for it. I also knew with Unreal, if this is something I want to take seriously, I can't quit my job right now, maybe later, and then but right now I need to get on board with this. And actually halfway through my studies, I, decided that I'm going to quit my job. In the beginning, I kind of managed to just kind of work through the material, but I didn't get time to really craft it nice. And I thought, if I'm going to take this seriously, I need to take that class and actually try and make something and do something with it.
This seems like a new chapter in the way that you move forward and navigate your career, I guess. Do you have any plans to do more personal Unreal Engine cinematic?
Yes, I'm currently working on a new MENACE style treatment and creative deck for a project that I want to do. And I've actually got a company that's going to be modeling me a custom bike that is actually a real bike based on a real custom bike that it really exists as well, which is pretty good. Like, because I want to bring on a few people and see if I can, have some help on certain aspects of it. One thing that MENACE didn't have was like smoke on the tires and, skid marks and dust and the VFX basically, which I didn't have time for. I added a little bit towards the end there with the bike going over the ramp, but those are things I didn't really have time for, and I really rushed a lot of that. So with the next one, I kind of want to build a complete world from scratch and to add a little bit more narrative to it, make use of the meta-human creator and, a bit more like facial reactions and things, and maybe have like 20% narrative with actual meta-humans, and then 80% is still going to be full-on action.
Is there any dream location that you'd love to shoot a action sequence on a motorbike?
In real life or
real life, fantasy, the moon? What we thinking?
That's one of the things I actually been thinking of, like, because I can shoot anywhere. Like, you can create a track on Mars if you want. I do like the realism aspect of it a little more, especially when it comes to that type of action as well. Like, it feels more dangerous when it feels real. One of my biggest influences on the new project will be Dread.
That's one of my favourite movies, where he chases the camper van. The feeling of that feels so real and raw, and it's one of my favourite movies of all time, that film is, especially that sequence on the bike. The feeling of the cameras really add to that realism, and that sequence is a great example of that.
It's like the let the action happen and kind of just cover it almost, everything about it, the energy. That also, it reminds you of one of those, because I grew up in the 90s and 80s a little bit, and all the movies from back then kind of starts with just a random violent city, and like RoboCop and, Demolition Man.
Love that film.
Yeah, the cinematographer on Dread, like, you can scan through that movie and pick a frame, and every frame looks really good. So that's one of my main inspirations for the new MENACE style video that I'm making. So I'm hopefully incorporating a few other vehicles and maybe some other bikes as well. And we'll see, hopefully have a whole gang going.
As the final note I'd like to wrap on, any advice that you would give to somebody looking to kind of get into the world of filmmaking or storytelling?
When I looked at 3D and Unreal, and to me, it seemed so out of reach. I'm like, I see an animation on TV. I don't even know where to begin to think how they did that. And I always used to love watching behind the scenes and studios and things like that. And if you come from a video production background and you want to get into Unreal Engine, and like the best place to start is just their website and on YouTube. And, I don't want to call it easy because it's not, but you coming from video editing or video production, it's just the learning curve of the software, because it's actually the capabilities that lies behind that wall is amazing. And every day still I kind of surprise myself with the things that I'm able to do, and just keep learning and keep watching, keep staying on top of the new stuff, because they do update it quite often.
Yeah, it moves fast, doesn't it? That's awesome, man. Thanks, Ewald. That's really great. And thanks for that advice. I've really enjoyed chatting to you there, Ewald, so thank you for your time, man.
Yeah, Jamie, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thanks for reaching out. It's a great opportunity for me, and I really appreciate it, yeah.
Have a great day, man, and we'll catch up with you very soon.
Awesome, thank you so much. And I will keep you updated on my future project and let you know how that goes.
Yeah, because we're going to join you again for the MENACE 2.0, and we can't wait.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Jamie. Hope you have a good day.
You too, man. All the best, Ewald. Great to meet you.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.